Alright guys, I'm going to show you how I make a medium super. I start out, I buy a 1x8 by 10 foot pine plank. I believe this is white eastern pine, I forget the exact breed. But anyway, I go with a 10 foot because it allows you to make the most amount of supers with the least amount of waste. You can cut 6 side boards, you know, the long ones that are almost 20 inches long, from one 10 foot plank and have almost zero waste. You can cut 5 end boards, or the short ones, and 2 long ones from another 10 foot plank and only have a waste cut that's about 2 inches long. You can buy several planks and even the 2 out by cutting 6 out of one and 5 and 2 out of another, and you buy 3 planks and it pretty much evens out where you have an extra piece, but it's no big deal because you'll make more in the future. Anyway, the way I make my hives or hive bodies and supers is I cut my end planks exactly 15.5 inches long, plus or minus a 1/16 of an inch, depending on how lazy I am that day. I cut 2 of those. Well, actually I cut about 100 at a time, and then I cut about 100 at a time of the long planks. You can see I've got several of them stacked up here ready to be assembled. But either way, I cut them 19 7/8 long, plus or minus a 1/16. Most of mine tend to be on the plus side. If you measure them, they're almost all of them are going to be 19 and 15/16. Which doesn't hurt a thing. The bees never know the difference. But anyway, 19 7/8 long on your side boards, 15.5 inches long on your end boards. Some of you are probably thinking 15.5 inches, that's not right, because the hive has to be 16 1/4 to get 10 frames in it. That's correct. But the way we're going to put these together, when we finish, they will be 16 1/4 inches wide. You'll notice every one of these boards has a notch on the end of it, which is called a rabbet. I make those with a table saw. You can do it with a router, but a table saw is easier and faster and more accurate because your pilot bearing on your router can dig and burr into the wood and make a deeper rabbet. If you've got a good shaper set up or a good router set up with a table, you can do it just as quick and accurate as a table saw. But anyway, I make a 3/8 by 3/8 rabbet on the end of every plank, the long ones and the short ones. When I assemble them, I'll assemble them like this. You'll notice I've got the end grain of my sideboard showing. Here you see the end grain. And you lap them like this. You see the lap, there's a little glue I need to get my chisel and scrape out before I paint these. But a lot of people ask me why I don't do the finger joint. For one, it's a tedious joint. It takes a lot of time, and it's actually weaker in the long run. In the long run, you've got more end grain. You've got end grain on this plank and this plank exposed at 50% per plank. Then you'll notice a lot of your old supers that have box joints, the top and bottom finger will be rotted out quite early compared to the rest of the plank and the serviceability or usability of the entire super. I use a router with a jig. You just saw it when I stacked it up, unstacked everything. This is a jig that I made. It's just a real simple little jig. You can see the clamp marks in it where I just clamp it with a pair of vice grips to the super. In this particular case, I clamp it about right here. I forget exactly where I clamp it. I drop my plunge router in the slot, move it back and forth and up and down, and you come out with a handle that just looks perfect like that right there. Well, not perfect. Nothing I do is perfect, but good enough. Same thing on my deeps. And I use 18 gauge staples assembling them after I clamp them. I use strap clamps, bar clamps, and pipe clamps. You see the pipe clamp on top? It's actually not just laid up there. That is holding the assembly square. while the glue sets and dries. I have not put any staples in it yet. I won't do that until after the glue sets and I take all the straps off. But on a hive body, I use 3 straps. Those are just your regular load bearing straps you can pick up at Walmart. You can pick up a package of 4 of them for 14 bucks. I got some Irwin bar clamps that I really regret purchasing. They're just not strong enough, or as strong as I'd like for them to be. The next time around, when I get some more clamps, I'm going to build some more bar clamps like these. You can put, I think it's like 1,500 pounds of pressure out with a bar clamp, and or with a pipe clamp, I'm sorry. Bar clamp, I only put out about 300 or 400 pounds, maybe a little more, I forget. But anyway, there's one. I just got through clamping it up. It is, the glue is setting now. I use Type-Bond 3 wood glue. Usually, or I want to buy it by the gallon. I just hadn't done it lately. But Type-Bond 3 is waterproof. If any of you guys know what Type 1 and Type 2 waterproofness is, this one is Type 1.